If people were thinking for themselves, they have the answers, they have the fucking tools available to them, and this is a controlled opposition asset. Selling people, convincing people, talking them into repeating this propaganda. It's fucking nonsense. It's absolute fucking nonsense. This is Terrence Howard. I've complained about him a bunch. As this reads, Howard is controlled opposition. Think for yourself. He's promoting the same official narrative as the Alphabet Kids. Yes, this narrative it cropped up in two different places because social engineering is alive and well and people are stupid enough to buy into it and repeat this shit. Reaffirming our master's adult fairy tales. 1 times 1 does equal 1, and people would understand that if they had the slightest fucking grasp on what the function of 1 is. But people don't. Here, I'm gonna play this shitty fucking video for you.
What is a quarter times a quarter? A quarter is equal to 25 pennies. Therefore, a quarter times a quarter equals 25 pennies times 25 pennies, which equals 625 pennies, which is 6.25 US dollars. Yet a quarter times a quarter, according to the calculator, is 0.0625. 0.25 times 0.25 equals 0.0625. How would you like your money calculated?
Allow me to enlighten you. If 4 over 2 is the inverse operation of 2 times 2 equaling 4, then it would naturally follow that 2 divided by 1, or 2 over 1, is the inverse operation of 1 times 1 equaling 2. So let's talk about this. What does your common sense tell you about these two scenarios? What do they have in common and what are their differences? Division. The number 4 is divided by 2 twice. And the truth is, the number 2 is divided by 1 twice. The proof of that, if you had $2 and split it between 2 people, you would have to give each person $1 in order for it to be even. In addition, 2 plus 2 equals 4, and 1 plus 1 equals 2. Subtraction, 4 minus 2 equals 2, and 2 minus 1 equals 1. Multiplication, 2 times 2 equals 4, and 1 times 1 equals 1. Does that make sense to anybody there? Does that seem like it's following any similar line of congruency? I mean, can you see where the mistake has occurred? Both of these scenarios are identical in every way. The only difference exists in dimension alone. If they add, subtract, and divide according to the same ratio, then they must also multiply according to the same ratio, plain and simple. If 2 over 1 is inconsistent with 1 times 1 equaling 1, although 4 over 2 is consistent with 2 times 2 equaling 4, then it should follow that 2 squared equals 4, which it does, and 1 squared equals 2. Yet the math and scientific community tells us that common sense and logic are wrong in this case because of a product of an arbitrary convention called the identity property. Let's discuss.
In mathematics, an identity element or neutral element is a special element such as 0 in the set of all integers under addition or 1 in the set of positive integers under multiplication, with a special set of powers that enables it the ability to defy the laws of physics on 2 of its primary founding assumptions.
Our masters are corrupting what reflects reality. In other words, and they're doing this in a number of ways, and people are repeating the fucking adult propaganda, the adult fairy tales, which is by all rights the paradigms, which is no different from a fucking rabbit hole. It's propaganda. So people apparently don't understand how 1 fucking functions, which means they don't understand how 9 fucking functions. Pardon me, I can't spit it out. You got a lot of fucking retards out there. So if you got a 9 and you multiply it by something, what does it produce? It's going to sing to itself, because this is how reality works. If you got a 1 and you multiply it by something, what does it do? Here's a better way to think of it, in the event that you can't answer the question, because apparently most people online can't. This is what the Greeks taught us. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is where they left off, mind you. They didn't spoon feed people all 9 numbers. And I'm not going to in this video. But 1 is the fucking monad. 2 is mind. This information's available to you, mind you. 3 is magnitude. 4 is matter, which is pretty fucking on the nose if you think about it. 4 dots if you think dimensionally speaking. And 5 is man. Now, if you multiply 1 by any of these, it's going to sing to these. Not this. Not this. Because it's a fucking reflection. People are being had, and they don't realize it because they're dumber than a fucking box of rocks. And down the line, they're going to fuck you and I up because they're repeating what Terrence Howard has left online. This is a big fucking deal. Again, people today do not understand how 1 fucking functions. Which doesn't say much about people in general, now does it? These things should be obvious. These things should be common knowledge. These things certainly aren't going to be taught in, indoctrination camps people consider school. Because this is something that reflects reality, and you are not supposed to understand how reality works. You're supposed to repeat a bunch of bargain bin outlines, the official narrative, which does not reflect reality. Now you can use these numbers as a fucking tool to understand things. You'll have a bunch of duds online who will babble about, what is it? Usually you can think of it in terms of this. You got an 11, and you can multiply it by, pick a number. If we're using multiples of 9, you can do this, and it's going to tell you something. If you take 11 times, what's another one? 42. People talk about 42 a lot. Take 11 times 42, and it's going to produce this. You're going to see a 42 cradling a 6. Now let's take the mirror opposite, or the reflection of 42, which would be 24. If you take 11 times 24, you're going to see a 264. Now, this is what I want you to think about what the Greeks taught us. You're going to see a cap here. Things are going to cut off. Things are going to change because of the function of fucking 9, which people don't understand, apparently. What you have to think about is the 45 and the 54. Or, as morons have been trained to repeat, 5D. Because reality is being corrupted. Ignore that. And people don't know what they're fucking talking about. So what I'm getting at is after, how should I put it? The chain of numbers having to do with binary, technically. Everything through 40, all the way through 50. You're going to see something flip there, which is representative of the multiples of 9 in a big fucking way. It doesn't come up, it's not spoon-fed to you, most people don't understand these things. Because there's a bunch of fucking retards online fucking things up. This is when I digress and say, what the fuck do I know? I can teach you things you're not supposed to know. This will happen to you if you challenge people. They're going to ask you this because they've never thought for themselves a day in their life. You and I are fucking slaves. We are debt slaves on the verge of becoming social credit slaves. One of the reasons they lie is you can use this as a fucking tool because it reflects reality. If you use the Terrence Howard method, it doesn't mean dick for shit. It goes nowhere, means nothing, and is fuck all because it's a rabbit hole. It's an adult fairy tale. It doesn't reflect reality. It's bullshit. It's 8 pounds of bullshit in a fucking 2-pound bag. They lie so that you are dumb and you don't understand how things work, which means you can't use it as a tool. It will not lead you to other things that reflect reality. You will never be able to find anything that fucking makes any goddamn sense in terms of, people babbling about truth or being enlightened, seeking knowledge. All those doors are shut. They're plastered over. You don't have access to them. So long as you repeat the fucking adult fairy tales, which are by all rights the paradigms, the outlines that were spoon-fed to the fucking internet. This includes the flat earth and the fucking globe theory, each of which are outlines no different than this. And most people haven't figured that out. Well, did I? Pardon me, I'm eating some cranberries. People aren't seeing what I'm leaving online right now anyway. So I might as well piss some people off. Because in turn, it goes both ways. If you and I weren't surrounded by fucking retards, things wouldn't be as bad as they are. I mean, they probably wouldn't even be bad. I mean, people would be doing the right thing. Rising to the occasion. They'd have standards. This is fucking nonsense. This is the Terrence Howard garbage again.
To get each point is
Absolute piece of shit. But the same applies to every Hollywood puppet you could think of. Same applies to every fucking quote-unquote president, steward of the corporation as well. People haven't figured these things out, though, apparently. So now that I've been a dick on here, they'll block me. Because nobody in here is going to fucking think for themselves and challenge this shit anyway. Including myself, 766 have clicked the bookmark. 341 have commented. Keep in mind, none of them are probably saying a goddamn bad word about this. And 2,467 have clicked the heart thing. Let's see. This guy's not censored because he's shopping around fucking propaganda.
equator.
Not a good guy. Not a good guy. Oh, but look, he's also a day trader. You can't trust those fucking people, I swear. You really can. But what do I know? Yeah. Good people don't promote the filters, which in turn trains the AI. I mean, if you were thinking for yourself, you wouldn't. But people do. Most people do. Guess that's the end of this jazz. It's disgusting. It's fucking disgusting.
What is a quarter?
And there's a lot of people buying into this right now, which means it's going to have legs, and that also means the next generation that's coming up will likely be inundated with this nonsense. And will probably fucking repeat it, because today we've got an entire generation, and then some, who doesn't know the difference between a fucking guy and a gal. That's how fucking lost we are. That's how far gone things are. That's how fucked we are. You and I are surrounded by fucking retards. Keep in mind, the gal that just clicked like, we've known each other a very long time, and she's been sweet enough to click on the fucking profile and go through the videos that I leave online. Because most of them will not pop up in your superficial feed where you are spoon-fed slop. It's also very telling of how many of you guys out there are truly invested. Most people haven't taken the time to do any of that jazz in terms of what I've been leaving online. And yet, I just recorded something where I think for you and teach you something that contradicts this, which is why I've been so adamant that Terrence Howard is a bag of fucking meat. And he's fucking things up. But as always, what the fuck do I know? And where's it at? The most recent posts they have to do with the Israel, and they have to do with the fucking corporation, having to do with the trilateral city-states, which is why one, maybe two people have seen them. Patently fascist tactics are alive and well. Censorship should not exist in any form or way, regardless of the format. Censorship, yeah? Good old censorship. What do I usually rattle off? Freedom of speech has nothing to do with community standards or community guidelines. Censorship. It's since been rebranded as shadow banning. It's been rebranded as a flowery term, cancel culture. And retards bought into it. They took to repeating it, not unlike what I've already complained about in the other video, having to do with this Terrence Howard crap, which is why this agenda has legs. Positive vibes only, also a censorship campaign. But people are stupid, and they will repeat trendy shit if enough people have heard about it. If it's well-financed and well-circulated, which these things are because our masters have how many resources available to them? Can't trust anything that's well-financed and well-circulated, whatsoever, including these social engineering platforms in place to manipulate and mislead you and I and others, etc., etc., and so it fucking goes. The Muppet who left that Terrence Howard propaganda, keep in mind, it's not Terrence Howard, it's our masters who dressed up this outline, and the celebrity puppet is just repeating it. Imagine that, actors, memorizing a script. What a shock. But this guy, I just spammed this crap, as the kids might think in terms of it.
What is a quarter times a...
And he took the time to click the little heart icon, so I also clicked the little heart icon since we're being passive-aggressive. Yeah. All the same, they're shopping around bullshit. It is propaganda. It's in place to fuck you and I up. I know you've already heard me say that many times over, especially in this video. But most people aren't going to think about it. And most people aren't going to do the right fucking thing. And that's what I want you to sit with. I should highlight this as well. So our masters conduct acts of lesser magic. This is where they tell you things. Most of it's propaganda. But bits and pieces will reflect reality. However, most people are so superficial, they're not going to realize what it is. They're not going to realize how it factors into how reality works, because they are, in fact, buying into the loads of propaganda that overwhelm anything that does reflect reality. I want you to listen to this guy. This is Terrence Howard again. He's controlled opposition now. His career didn't go very well, so this is what he's been tasked with. It's an actor memorizing lines and regurgitating this shit. And in this case, he's going to tell you about a computer chip. You can throw that shit out the window. But here.
Look at a computer chip. It has all of these 90-degree turns on it, typically, where they run the electricity. Can you imagine running at 186,624 miles a second in one direction, and you hit a wall, and you've got to stop, bounce off of that wall, and then you pick up your speed and you bounce off the next wall, and you bounce off the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. How much heat are you building up? How much friction is being built up from the interference in comparison to if it was just spherical, just going around? It would build up no heat. And if you allow it to be spiral, which my patent was talking about, that first patent was talking about, you're able to utilize all that energy, so you don't need the cooling systems. You don't need all of this loss or entropy. None of that occurs when you go by universal standards. That's all they have to do is follow what the universe does. We have the contractive side, patented, ready and available. We have the expanded side, patented, worked out already, ready and available, and we've got the Constitution between the two of them. Look at it.
Now, our masters are laughing at us, and what he's technically doing and what they're technically doing. These bastards who pull our strings, quite literally, figuratively and otherwise. How should I put it? They are openly mocking their models, their outlines of the flat earth and the globe theory. And people are going to watch this and they're not going to realize what it is that he's actually saying. They're going to superficially think in terms of, most likely, the illusion of, free energy, which is not on the docket. That's not something that our masters want to take place. It's something that we could sort out, but we're not going to, because you and I are surrounded by idiots. What was the other thing I was going to rattle off in here? I had it. I just lost it. Fuck. I had it and I just lost it. Apologies for that. The big thing to take away is he's openly mocking the flat earth and the globe theory. And people aren't going to, pick up what I'm putting down or what's in this video. Because most people will superficially think in terms of a microchip or all the shit that's on the surface, the surface level bullshit, the superficial shit. That's what they're going to take away from this. And or they're just going to blindly, dash out the door and fucking repeat it verbatim because they buy into things instead of looking into them. They're not going to challenge this information. They're not going to think about this information. They're not going to scribble it out and try to work it out to see if it does hold water. They're just going to repeat it. 10 to 1. I've never clicked on this account. They probably have thousands of people following them and they're not censored. What do you think the odds are? I'm wrong. 600. I thought maybe, based on what they just left online. So I stand corrected on that note. But they are shopping around a lot of Terrence Howard. Thought I'd give it a look.
Computer chip.
But 1,000 people did see this shit. And 7,600 and some did click like on it. So it is being circulated online, which still stands to reason with what I was getting at. It's not censored in the age of patently fascist horse shit. Yeah. Oh, and another thing to take away. Do you see where it says peace? That's the cross of Nero, which has to do with victory. That's not peace. That's bullshit. Sigils reveal and sigils conceal, and they also manipulate people, you and I both, especially when a bunch of retards will buy into an outline that doesn't reflect reality and repeat it. And that's what you see every single time people, split their two fingers and say, peace.